I have signed my name to a great many papers in my time as junior registrar of the Oshkar archive, and most of them I have forgotten the moment the ink dried. I remember every version of that one. 5 years of it. 5 separate spring mornings when I carried the same single sheet down the same cold corridor, laid it on the same desk, and watched the same woman refuse to finish it. The form itself was nothing. A casualty discharge, standard reach military template, the kind that closes a soldier's file so his pay stops and his post opens, and the reach can stop counting him among the living. Ranger Corin Vale. Border Scout. Last confirmed position the Vasmore Crossing. Status. Missing. Presumed killed in the collapse. Every part of it was already filled in by clerks who had never met him. Only one line waited on a hand that was not mine, the Queen's signature. Queen Maren Vel Ashkar signed forests into timber grants and treaties into law before her second cup of tea most mornings. She was not a slow hand, but every year, on the collapse's anniversary, she would take that one sheet from me, read it the way a person reads a letter they already know by heart, and set it down again, with the line still blank. She never explained it to me directly. She did not need to. I had carried enough of her correspondence to recognize a woman who was not refusing out of grief alone, but out of a kind of stubborn arithmetic, as if leaving the line empty kept some door, somewhere past the border, from closing all the way. This year the council did not intend to let her leave it blank again. I stood at the back of the antechamber the morning they told her so. Lord Regent Hallis Corn did the talking, as he always did, his voice pitched for the record rather than for her. The Reach's treaty with the Vasmore states required a settled consort line within the decade, he said, and the decade had 5 days left in it. A queen who was neither widow nor wife could not be matched, could not be married off to secure the border her own ranger had died defending, and could not, therefore, keep her counsel patient any longer. The form on my desk had become, without anyone saying so plainly, the last obstacle between the Reach and a new marriage contract that had nothing to do with Corin Vale and everything to do with a duke from the Eastern Shelf, whose name I will not bother remembering. She listened to all of it standing, hands folded, the way she listened to bad harvest reports. When Hallis finished, she asked for 3 days. He gave her 1, because he could, and because he believed there was nothing left in the world that a single day could change. I was the one who fetched the form from the vault that evening, because the Queen asked for it herself, and because in 5 years no one else had ever touched it. She did not sit at her writing desk. She carried it instead to the window seat in the small archive room where I keep the older ledgers, and she sat with it in her lap the way you would hold something sleeping. From my own desk I watched her open the drawer beside the seat, the one I had always assumed held nothing, since I had never once seen it opened, and take out a small tin, dented at one corner, old enough that its hinge complained. Inside it, pressed flat between 2 scraps of waxed cloth, was a sprig of frost thistle, silver gray and brittle, the kind that only grows along the Vasmore Ridge in early spring. She did not show it to me. She only held it a moment, the way a person holds proof of something, before she set the tin down and picked the pen back up. She still did not sign. I did not understand, until the gate bell rang. It rings for tradesmen and for couriers most days, a flat, ordinary sound that nobody in the palace bothers to look up for. That evening it rang 3 times, slow, the old pattern the border rangers used when they came home wounded and wanted the gate warned before they were seen. I had read about that pattern in training manuals. I had never once heard it used. Queen Maren was on her feet before the 3rd ring finished. I followed her down through the west stair because it was faster than asking permission to, and I have thought since that this was the only useful thing I did the whole evening. I was there, and so what follows is not hearsay. It is what I saw with my own eyes from 6 paces behind her, in the entry hall, under lamps that had not yet been lit for the night. He came through the gate on his own feet, which the guards told me later was itself a small miracle, given the state of him. 5 years does something to a man's face that no portrait ever captures, the weight gone from it, the color gone gray-brown from years of a sun that was not our sun, a scar tracking pale along his jaw that had not been there in the one likeness the archive kept of him. He was thinner than any ranger I had ever seen return from a border posting. He was still, unmistakably standing. He did not run to her. That surprised me most, looking back. He stopped a proper 10 paces off, the way a soldier stops before an officer, and he took his cap off, slow, the way I imagine a man does when he has spent a long time being careful about which gestures still belong to him. "Reporting," he said. His voice was rough from disuse, late. Queen Maren Vel Ashkar did not move for the length of 3 full breaths. I counted them, because counting was the only thing I could think to do with my hands, which wanted badly to do something else. When she finally crossed the distance between them, she did not embrace him, not there, not in front of the hall guards and the gate watch and me. She stopped an arm's length away and lifted her hand, not to his face, but flat, open, the way you would offer a hand to help someone up off the ground. "You're late," she said, and her voice did not shake, though her eyes were bright in the lamplight in a way I had never seen them. 5 years late. I kept the line open the whole time. He looked for a moment, as if he did not understand her. Then I saw it land, not on his face first but in his shoulders, the way a weight finally sets down after a long carry. She turned to me then, and I have never in my life felt so suddenly, uselessly visible. "Ren, bring the form." I brought it. My hands were not steady doing it, and I am not ashamed to say so now. She took it from me in the entry hall, in front of the assembling guard and 2 counselors who had come running at the gate bell same as I had, and she signed it there, standing, using the stone sill of the entry window as her desk, in handwriting nothing like her usual careful court script, quick, hard-pressed, the pen nearly tearing the page. Not the discharge line. She struck through the entire casualty designation, top to bottom, in one motion, and beneath it wrote a single line of her own. Ranger Corin Vale, returned to duty and to the Reach, this date, alive. She held the sheet up so Hallis Korn could read it without her having to say a word, and I watched a man who had built 5 days of legal argument on a blank line understand, in real time, that the line was no longer blank, and never would be filed the way he needed it filed. There was no grand speech. That was not her way, and it was not his. She only took Corin Vale's arm, steady, the way you'd take the arm of someone you intended to keep walking beside for a good while yet, and told the hall, plainly, that the Reach's ranger had come home, and that supper would be held for him properly, and that the rest of the council's business could wait until morning. "I still have the frost thistle tin." She gave it to him that same week, once the corridors had quieted and the treaty business had sorted itself into something less urgent than it had felt on that one evening. "He keeps it now on the sill of the window in the ranger's post at the west gate, where the light catches it in the mornings, and where, 5 years from now, I expect it will still be sitting, because some things, once a person decides to keep them, simply stay kept.